Hello and welcome back to my series Deep Dive, where we take a long look at whatever subject that it is that I want you to take a look at. We are currently still doing Saudi Arabia. I do have some corrections and updates before I jump into the next video, which is going to be Prince Mohammed bin Salman, how he got to power and where he's going with it and his 2030 plan and how we can kind of put a kink in that. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is I did get some pushback from some Saudi Arabian citizens. I want to start with by saying that I am by no means targeting the Saudi Arabian citizens themselves. A lot of my sources, a lot of the information that I got, and a lot of the direction in which I was pushed to make these series of videos came from people that I know from Saudi Arabia, women that I know from Saudi Arabia, and I definitely do not think that you are bad people. I actually really genuinely love the people from Saudi Arabia that I do know. I think they're wonderfully sweet people that will give you the freaking shirt off their backs. They are wonderful, wonderful people. So it is not targeted at you. It is targeted at your government and your religious system, how it's human rights violations. And the next thing that I want to correct is the whole I said that women cannot travel without a male guardianship system. I've been doing this project for over a year now. Before I even started my YouTube channel, I knew that this was going to be one of the first deep dives that I ever covered. And so I started talking to them, started talking to a lot of women then. I made some contacts that I talked to, not via anything where it's easy to find, because I do not trust the Saudi Arabian government not to hurt the people that I am in communication with. So we kind of do it through system, so I don't always talk to them up to date. Like, I can email them, it can take them a couple of days to a couple of weeks to get back to me. And in this case, last time I had spoken to them, I think it was in July, and the guardianship system was still in effect for travel. And there was discussion that it would be removed, that women would be able to travel freely and get their education freely and things like that, but it had not been put into effect. They weren't entirely convinced that it would be put into effect. So I did not put that in the video because I was not aware of it being put into effect. Someone from Saudi Arabia actually contacted me and said, hey, the guardianship system has changed since August 1st. Please go look it up. I mean, he wasn't that polite about it, but he did. And I went and looked it up, and then I emailed the person that I talked to that actually still lives in Saudi Arabia. She took a couple of days, but she got back to me, and she told me that yes, as of August 1st, that system has changed. But she says that it was still complicated. It's still a complicated system. The kinks have not been worked out. It's still challenging for some women to travel. That even with the app system, did not go into effect correctly at first. If you wanted to travel, you had to go to the government system to get your travel documents because the app was not allowing you to do that. So she says that it's still got a lot of kinks. It has gotten better. It is not great. She's not satisfied with it. She still thinks that the system is absolutely horrific and antiquated. She did confirm that you still need male guardianship to get most of your medical procedures done, to open bank accounts in some places, to get out of prison, or they put you in shelters where they marry you off, I guess, to keep the male guardianship, because I don't know what's up with that. But I did want to put those corrections in there because I do want to be as fair as possible and as honest with you guys as possible. So that system has changed. I am correcting that. It has not changed that much. It is still really, really bad. I still stand by the first video. It sucks. Okay, so now we're going to talk about Prince Mohammed bin Salman, MBS, and how he is basically a shadow leader and he should not have been. Okay, so how Saudi Arabia was founded. It was founded by one king, and he had a bunch of sons. And I'm just simplifying this as to get through the easiest parts first. So they had a bunch of sons. And when the original king died, he passed it on to one son. And then throughout the system, it has always been they're kind of like our Congress. They vote in the next monarch. It's not just passed from father to son. It's been passed from father to brother to brother to brother to brother to brother up until the current king in Saudi Arabia. But the crown prince underneath him was a cousin of Prince Mohammed bin Salman, and he kind of shoved him out of the way, and he put his son in place, and that's how Mohammed bin Salman, he basically bypassed everything, kind of did a little mini coup if you ask me, and took power. He is the de facto leader. His dad, rumor has it, his dad has Alzheimer's, so he doesn't really run the country. It is totally Prince Mohammed bin Salman who is the puppet leader of Saudi Arabia. He is responsible for locking up the female activists. He is responsible for their torture. He knows it is his little henchman that does all of the torturing. So don't for a second think that Mohammed bin Salman is a good person by any means. But on that note, there are two sides to many people, and there are many things that Prince Mohammed bin Salman is doing that I actually happen to agree with. So we're going to talk about what I agree with, and then we're going to talk about what sucks about him. Okay, so the things that I agree with is he has this 2030 plan. And this 2030 plan, because Saudi Arabia's entire economy is based off of their oil, and rumor has it that their oil supplies are starting to dwindle. I mean, they still have a crap ton. It's still $1 trillion business. It's huge, but it is starting to dwindle. We're not going to use oil forever, and he's smart enough to see that that could be a problem in the future. So he has a 2030 plan, because most of the people in Saudi Arabia are under the age of 30. They're very young, and so yeah, he has a 2030 plan to help initiate that, and that includes ushering in the changes that I just spoke about and ushering in many others. So one of his biggest plans was to turn the their oil company Aramco into a partially publicly owned subsidiary, which with the death of Jamal Khashoggi has gone backwards in many ways. I don't know if they will ever be able to publicly trade it. I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. Yeah, it would probably be a good investment, but putting your money into Aramco is probably not the best idea. You are supporting a very corrupt regime. But the other things that they have is letting women into the workforce, having more women. The women in Saudi Arabia, from what I understand and what I've been told, are very highly educated. They just don't use that education. For the women that are educated versus the women that actually have jobs is insanely low. So his goal is to release some of those restrictions and get more women in the workforce. You get more women in the workforce, you have a younger workforce, it pumps more money into the economy. So that is very smart and a very good idea. And I am all for more women being able to have jobs and being able to drive and being able to control those things. That is wonderful. I commend the Saudi Arabian government. I commend Prince Mohammed bin Salman for doing that. That is wonderful. It is a very smart plan. It is wonderful. Getting more women in the workforce. Then his next plan is to get more tourists into Saudi Arabia. Not just people that are going to go see Mecca, which is huge because people need to. Mecca is a big deal in the Islamic community. I really think that people from Islam should definitely be able to go and do Mecca. But he's also looking to get more people like my husband and I, more Americans. He wants to be more like Dubai. I got issues with Dubai. That's a whole nother deep dive. But, so when doing that, they have made changes like, if you were not a citizen, not forcing you to be married to book a hotel. Like a man and woman had to prove that they were married to book a hotel. Now they don't have to do that. They are trying to pump more money into the economy. Saudi Arabia is definitely not a place that I would advise visiting. I don't think it is safe, and not because of the people. Once again, the people of Saudi Arabia are wonderful. Every person that I have met that has come out of Saudi Arabia has been amazing. They have been wonderfully kind people, and I would never say anything negative about the people. It is the leadership I have a problem with. So, yeah, he wants to bring in more tourism and do more things like that. Why I don't think that it's a good idea and it's safe to visit, even though the religious police do not have as much power as they used to, there are still so many laws there that could get you into trouble. They don't allow any dissent. They don't allow, if you make a video that's negative to Saudi Arabia, in Saudi Arabia, you will go to jail. There's just a whole lot of things that don't make it safe for American tourists to travel there. It's just not a good idea. Plus, you are supporting a brutal regime. And this is where we're going to get into the negatives of Prince LaDouche, as I like to call him. Okay, since he has taken power in 2015, the execution rate of Saudi Arabian citizens has nearly doubled. And I mean, these are for crimes like speaking out against the government, just simple things that you shouldn't be executed for, simple rights that we take for granted here. Bloggers, activists, things like that are being killed in Saudi Arabia for speaking out against the government. And you absolutely should not support a regime that will not allow its own people to speak freely. Then there is the whole him locking up Saudi princes to take their money, which we discussed, and how they handled dissent. Yeah, he locked up like 11 princes and tortured them until they handed over a couple of $1 billion, including one of the most liberal princes that it's Talid, Prince Talid. He is one of the most liberal princes there that I can think of, and he has an ex-wife who's pretty liberal, who is a woman's activist. He's not perfect. He's kind of arrogant, and he does drive me crazy, but he is one of the most liberal princes. He was locked up. I am deeply horrified that he was tortured. Deeply, deeply troubled by that. And then there's the whole abducting their own princes from England, where they take princes from England and they forcibly bring them back to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia because they speak out against them. That is a Prince Mohammed bin Salman thing, and that's not okay. Not okay. So not okay. Then you have Jamal Khashoggi, which I addressed in the other video. So as much as I think Prince Mohammed bin Salman has done a lot of good things for the country, amazing things for the country, I think that if the country wants to progress, they need a different leader. They need one that doesn't have that authoritarian, disgusting bit of leadership. I would like to see a different prince. If Saudi Arabia ever became a less horrific human rights violator, I would definitely go to see it. It's one of the most beautiful places in the world. It also has some of the nicest people. I cannot say that enough. I am so hard on Saudi Arabia. I speak this because I actually genuinely have an affection for the people that I have met that have come out of Saudi Arabia. I think the country, from the pictures that I've seen, is absolutely stunning. I just don't want to see it turn into the next Dubai and its human rights violations while we cover it up. They deserve better. Alright guys, I will see you for the American part of this video series. Bye!